Good morning, all. I hope everybody had a safe and fun Memorial Day weekend. I know it's been a while since we had a Motivation Monday, a few weeks here. I have talked to a few of you since then, which is really good. I heard some people get some referrals over the weekend too using business cards, which is always awesome to hear. I hope everybody's also enjoying the official start of summer and getting outside and doing a bit of relaxing before the big open enrollment's coming up. So I hope we're having a chance to kind of clear our mind before the big wave hits. It's just a few months away. So today we're actually going to be talking about closing in the assumptive sales process, which is what we've been actually working through these last few Motivation Mondays. So the assumptive sales processes, they're really great for intangible sales, but I know it's something that not a lot of people are used to. So what assumptive sales is, it's actually assuming that you know that the client is going to buy throughout the whole process. Assumptive sales is great in insurance. You spend more time on the front end learning about the client, doing solution selling instead of playing that big mallet game of who can hit each other the hardest. Assumptive sales is also, one of the keys to it is actually having a lot of confidence, which is kind of where this statement comes from, where it's confidence and enthusiasm are the greatest sales producers in any kind of economy. It is the truth. With assumptive sales processes, you have to be extremely confident. You have to have a lot of enthusiasm for them to work. If that is not something that's you, if you don't feel you are 100% confident, that's something to personally work on. Getting to know your products better, getting to know how things work. And the enthusiasm, I hope you have enthusiasm for your job. That's something that's important. So let's jump in. So happy Motivation Monday. Here we go is going to kind of be how, no different than anything else. So we're going to review the tip of the week. We're going to learn a new really quick tip. We're going to get into some trends, go through some numbers, and end with the technique, which this week is closing. So to kind of review last week, or 2 weeks ago, I guess, here, we talked about Time Insurance Company, how the Assurant Health sales, because Assurant Health used to actually be Time. It got bought by National General recently when the Time Insurance Company kind of went out of business there. So it's now going to be TIC or tickagent.com. And if you were looking for more information about it in the AHCPsales.com, it's going to be listed under National General there. I do believe it's right at the top. There are some future changes coming up to the quoting platform. And again, when we get more of those screenshots, I will make sure to share them with you right away. So the tip of this week is actually about the training calendar. It's something we talked about, I'd almost say 6 months ago. So if you've not been looking at it, please do. There are some great trainings coming up, as you can see there. And we're working on a few more to help kind of fill that in so you guys can get more product training here. Coming up on Wednesday, the 8th, there is United of Omaha, Living Promise and Legacy Safeguard. There's going to be that great training. If you have not signed up for it, please do. And then next Tuesday, there's the IHC. It's a new carrier that we're going in. I'll remind you guys of it next Monday again. So it's the new carrier. It's going to be a training by them. They have been really great to work with so far. I've heard absolutely fantastic things from everybody who's sold their products. So if you have not signed up for that webinar on the 14th, please go. Please do. They're free to sign up for it. They're free to sit through. Then you can decide, hey, do I want to get contracted and sell these products? So tip of this week, make sure to check that training calendar because it is filling up. We're going to try to get a lot more of that product training in, closer before the start to, open enrollment. So these next few months, we're going to start building up that training train, I guess, or training bandwagon that's going to be happening. So to kind of talk about the trends. So as usual, it's going to be that overall major decrease in major medical actually. It was a pretty big decrease this time, and it was a really small increase in short term. So our top producers, as far as it goes with the short term, Victor Kravinsky, he had almost $25K in annualized premium last week. And with that, there was $15K in NHIC short term that he sold himself. So kind of a big deal, right? So there's going to be that slight uptick. People are really producing with that short term. I mean, Victor alone, he sold $15K in NHIC short term, which is extremely impressive. So good job, Victor. There's also David Taser, who he sold about $8,000 in NHIC short term last week as well. His total annualized premium was $12K, so people are really producing here. There's an increase in accidents, so a pretty healthy uptick. We had David DeWitt, who sold $21K total and $15K in VBA accident. That's huge. So if it's one of those products that, hey, you know what, you're not up there producing around the same level, come on, reach out. Maybe we can take a look at getting you contracted with them if you're not currently contracted and getting a little more knowledge as far as the product goes. There's an increase in critical illness as well, so a pretty healthy increase in critical illness, a fairly healthy increase in the accident sales that are happening. And in the end, there's really no change in dental. We had a pretty good sales week going on. I mean, we had one agent who did 25K in annualized premium, another one who did 21K. Those were the top two producers. After that, we had 12 and 11K as well. So some people are really out there still hitting the streets hard. Majority of them being short-term. Again, Victor sold 15K in short-term. David sold 8K in short-term, and then also William Kelly sold 11K in Golden Rule short-term. So these are really great numbers. These are things you can kind of start striving for. Again, if you're not hitting those numbers, let us know and we'll help you out. So what we're going to jump into now, that we kind of went through the tip of the week, which is going to be the training calendar, kind of hit those numbers, we're going to jump into the sales technique. So this is kind of the end of the overall sales technique series that we've had. So for the last few weeks, we have been working through that effective and assumptive sales process. Now, assumptive selling is basic, as we talked about. Really the definition, trying to find a good definition of it's really hard, but it's really act as if something were true and I may well believe you, meaning that you're going through the whole sales process with the assumption that the client will buy. I feel that every time I explain this, I get the, yeah, Dan, I assume that now, and every time I pick up the phone, I'm going to close. No, that's a little different. This is actually completely different. Assumptive sales process is really the way you talk and deal throughout the whole process to make the close a little different. The assumptive sales process is really based off the concept that the customer must like you, must trust you, must believe in you, and know you're a professional. That's the basic needs for the process to work. So a few weeks ago, we walked through how to do the effective introduction, which included the 4 steps of the unique introduction and why you're calling, kind of the introduction, the why you're calling, the WIFM, and the process there. The next step that we dove into is the fact finding again, and that is the majority part of your call. That's about 70% of your whole discussion with your client there. If they're in the office, that's when you kind of get out a sheet that has these questions to prove that, you know, these are something that I actually care about. So as it goes with the basic things you need in fact finding is really the previous insurance, the why you're calling, the consumption, the budget, and the start date. Those are the basic questions. Really the point behind the fact finding too is to get your client talking, to have your client feel involved. It's to let your client buy into your sales process, honestly. Fact finding, what you do is you spend your whole time talking about open-ended questions. So asking a question that does not end in just one word. So really more the whys, you know, the what, something where your client has the ability to respond. You know, this isn't the area for you to spend a lot of the time talking. This is the area really for your client to talk. And keep in mind with the fact finding, what you're doing is you're listening to your client talk. This is kind of where as salespeople, we shut up. And as salespeople, we're not very good at being quiet, let's be honest. So fact finding is really, you know, letting them talk, asking open-ended questions, hearing it out. So listening to the client, repeating it back to them, and just verifying that that's what they heard. So with the fact finding, you're on the same page throughout the whole thing. With fact finding, that gives us the ability to do a solid presentation. And with the presentation, really what that is, which we talked about 2 weeks ago because of Memorial Day there, is really about the recommendation, going through the benefits, how they're going to be used, and ancillary products. With presentations, the whole point of the presentation is to tell the story back to the client about fact finding and to ask close-ended questions. So it's kind of a funnel. You know, you start with an introduction, you go fact finding, let them talk a lot. That's the opening of the funnel. Where you go into the presentation where you're asking close-ended questions that your client can only answer with a yes. Really, that's kind of the point of the presentation, is to get your client saying yes throughout the whole thing. So at the end, the final yes is going to be that much easier. So at the end of the presentation, so again, step 3 in your sales process, the bottom 2 there, the yes to benefits and price, is actually when the close starts, honestly. Your close, even though it's its own final box at the end, because we all know we need to get the credit card information, get the whites of the eyes of the client, it really starts with the yes to benefits. That's where you go through everything. You ask, are these the benefits that are going to work for you and your family? And this is where you do not move on until you get a yes. Yes, you're going to wait for it. Yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. I mean, honestly, if you get a no here, you have the ability to make changes. So that's when your closing process really kicks in, is there to the yes to benefits. So, you know, as we're talking about, it's the assumptive sales process, meaning that you're going to go through the presentation. You're going to end on a more assertive tone, because that is the plan you pick. That's the plan you're going to recommend. The plan you talk to your client about is something that you should have 100% confidence in. So really, I mean, trust me, with the assumptive sales process, if this is something you're not used to, this is going to be a little weird, especially at the beginning. I will tell you what people like about this sales process, and especially the closing aspect of it. It takes a lot of the stress away from asking for the sale because you've already assumed through the whole thing. Really, the asking for the sale is getting the yes to benefits. Honestly, if you get a yes here, you move forward 100%. If you don't get a yes here, we're going to talk about that in a second, but there's other things that you can do. So what you're going to do is you're going to wait and get that yes to benefits. I mean, first off, you will not close, and I mean, you will never close, ever close. Don't even waste your time trying unless you get that yes to benefits. Do not move on without it. Yeah, I've said this quite a few times because I can't tell you how many agents don't do this. They get into the assumptive sales process, the client, are these benefits that work for you? I guess. That's not a yes to benefits. And then the agent moves forward. Well, guess what? Your client didn't give you that affirmative yes. They didn't give you that confidence that this is what they want, and the agent just moves forward. Well, it's really hard to have an assumptive sale if there's no yes in there to that this is exactly what your client wants. I also sometimes have new agents get really uncomfortable because the client hems and haws here. These could work, I guess. No, you need to find out why. Honestly, what a lot of agents are used to is at the close, this is when you get your big mallet on, and I'm going to beat you up really, really hard because I have all these really, really good overcoming objection techniques that I've been working on. This takes away the objections. Honestly, the whole assumptive sales process removes the need for an objection. This part right here, if you are going to get an objection, this is where it will happen. Get that yes to benefits. If not, we're going to stop and find out why. If I need to make changes to the plan, absolutely. We're AHCP agents. Look how many different carriers we have access to. Maybe something about the way you explain the critical illness plan didn't sit right with the client. Well, this is when it's going to happen. Spend the right amount of time here. Give this section all the love that you can. One thing I always tell new agents too is love the one you're with, kind of a concept. This is it. The SDN benefits. This is where you love the one you're with. People will always ask you too here, yes to benefits. Well, how much is it? These benefits work. How much is it? Well, in your fact finding, you asked about, what their budget is. So you can reassure them, hey, I've kept this within your budget. I'm not asking that. I'm asking if the benefits are going to be the ones that work for you. So if we take price, we remove this completely out of the equation, is this going to be the plan that is going to work for you and your family? I mean, that's the biggest thing you have to spend your time doing with the close, is making sure that everything lined up before you give the price. Because I can't tell you how many people call up just wanting a quote, 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 quote. I hate that word. It reminds me of kind of the seagulls in Finding Nemo, with a mine concept. This is when you can stop and, hey client, is this going to be the best plan for you? We went through all these fantastic benefits. We went through how everything's going to work. We went through how your ancillary products are going to work. I've tied in all these great stories to you. You've been saying yes the whole time. Are these going to be the benefits that are going to work for you and your family? Because honestly, the answer may be no. But if, when you get that yes, that's great. That's when you can give them the price. Okay, you get the yes to benefits, you get the price, everything's going great for you. So you give them the price, and what you're actually going to do, and this is different, and this is what makes it the assumptive sales process, is you're going to move right into the application process. I know everyone, this is kind of weird. People are like, well, you didn't get the confirmation from the client. You did with the yes to benefits. That's the yes I want to buy. So you literally give the price and you move into what your next steps of the process is, and you start moving into the actual application. So what I say is, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to collect basic demographic information from you, and that will be printed on your insurance policies, and there I'll collect your payment information. At the end, we will complete a few e-signatures and get our application numbers, which will help us track through the underwriting process. And then I ask a basic demographic information question. That keeps the client moving forward. If you stall between the price and basic demographic information question, the human nature there is to object. It doesn't matter if it is the right thing. I can't tell you why. Like you say, it's $157 a month, and the next step in the process is, if you say, hey, it's $157 and you stop, human nature, 100%, they want to object. Humans don't want to be sold. It's just in our nature. We don't want to feel that somebody pulled one over our eyes, even though that you, hey, guess what? You know what benefits they need. You kept it within the price. You have that exact start date. You have this great relationship. You just give the price and you move into the application process. Great, the next step in the process is I'm going to collect basic demographic information from you. That's going to be printed on your insurance policies. From there, I'll collect the payment information. And at the end, we'll complete a few e-signatures and get our application numbers, and that's going to help us actually track it through the underwriting process. What's your middle initial? I ask them demographic information questions that I honestly don't care about because I am doing other stuff at that time. You know, I'm going through getting into that application. I'm getting to the parts that I want to be at. So, you know, basic demographic information questions. Let's double check your address. Can we verify your phone number? What's the middle initial of your oldest child that's going to be on the application? Keep in mind, you know, your customer's already agreed. That's what the yes to benefit does. And note that, you know, you have assumed through the whole thing that you are going to make a sale. You told them at the beginning in your introduction, hey, as long as you like what we're going to go over, we're going to get you applied. You told them in fact finding before you did your presentation, hey, guess what? I'm going to go over benefits, and as long as you like what you hear, we're going to go ahead and get you applied. So you have told them twice already, guess what? We're going to do the application. If you don't do that and you stop and you stall and you say, hey, is that okay? Like, let's do this. Your client's going to get confused. Honestly, you've taken charge through this whole thing. You've got their buy-in in the fact finding. You got them to say yes through the presentation, and now you're going to stop. It doesn't work. We talked through the agents who were the top producers. We talked about Victor Krabaczynski. I've actually been working with him for 5 years. 5 years ago, actually, when Victor got into the sales, I taught him this process, and now he is the top AHCP agent. This is an extremely powerful sales process. You have to be confident through the whole process. He wasn't at the beginning. He flopped a little bit. We went down and we actually analyzed everything that he was doing. That's when he was doing just phone sales. So I told him, hey, record your calls, send me, let's work through this together. And we did. I mean, this is the strongest form of selling. The guy is selling 25K a week in sales, 15K alone in just short term by doing the assumptive sales process. I still work with him to this day. This is what we do. The assumptive sales process is extremely beneficial. This is something that you should be invested in, honestly. If you want to hear more about the other videos as well, they are in the training section at the AHCP sales. The close is quick. It's really painless, honestly. You know, do these benefits work for you and your family? Great. Here's the price. We're going to move right into the application process. Have them grab a pen and paper too as they're asking the basic demographic information questions. I like to have my clients write down their application numbers. That makes them feel like they have something going on there. And I just honestly move throughout the whole process and I just don't stop. I am that train at this point. You know, I will just plow through everything. We're going to get through all those applications. You know, I'm going to keep the chit chat going. I'm not going to let there be those awkward lulls because the awkward lulls are where your client's going to spend being like, maybe I didn't want this, or maybe this isn't going to be the best fit. You will close higher. Assumptive sales processes are actually some of the highest closing rates in any sales technique across the industry. The best insurance agencies actually do the assumptive sales process. I've worked with a lot of, you know, little larger insurance agencies like Assurant when they were around, United Health. They use the assumptive sales process. This is what they do. This is how they close their at such a high rate. Something that in the field that we should get used to using, the assumptive sales process. I would go through honestly and work through all the videos. It's going to be the chain of 4. But let's say that you get to the yes to benefits, and guess what? They say no, or I have to talk to my spouse, or any of those other good objections that we've never heard. Well, we're going to do overcoming objection techniques coming up. But one of the biggest things to do before we talk about it, and that will really help, no matter what, at any time during your sales process, if for some reason your client has to go, you need to get a clear direction. Really. So the point of the clear direction is that you can end the call, honestly. The Zig Ziglar, I can take a no's graciously as a yes, but I just can't take a maybe. That's the point behind the clear direction. So yes, they said yes, you went and closed it. If they say no, you need to get a time, a date, and a reason to follow up. There are no other options. You can either get a yes, no, or a clear direction. That are your only 3 options. If your client gets off the phone and you don't have those, you just wasted your lead. So you just got rid of, your $5, $10, $15, $20 lead there. You threw money down the drain. You need to either get a yes, a no, or a clear direction. So a time, a date, and a reason. For any reason your client has to go, if they have to talk to their spouse, make sure that they repeat back what you went over that day so you know what they're going to tell their spouse. I mean, that's really important. Maybe there's something that they missed. Also, this is a great time too. If they have not grabbed that pen and paper yet, tell them to do it. Listen for them to do it. I know it's one of my favorite things. I love hearing people wrestle around their house and trying to find their pen and grabbing their paper pad. But on the close, if you don't get that solid yes, and they, hem ha, think about it, talk about it, whatever they have to do, clear direction, time, date, and reason. Every time you get off, you should be able to have a piece of paper on your desk that says yes, no, and then clear direction. And at the end of every call, it should fall into one of those 3 buckets. Big thing too to do, make sure that they repeat it back. If you're going to give them the time, the date, your phone number, your name, have them repeat it back to you. People will air write things. I'm actually notorious for that when I'm talking to people on the phone. Because my phone number's out there to a lot of people, and so I get a lot of solicitation calls. A lot. And I usually try to call them all back because for me, I like to learn from other people's sales processes. So when I go through, when they make me repeat it back, that's when I can be like, oh, actually I didn't get that whole thing. Let me write it down again. And it works. Honestly, I've bought things because of that. So the easiest people to sell are salespeople. I know that as a fact. So for me, it's kind of easy to do. But so with the close, honestly, and in a clear direction as well. So you're doing the assumptive sales process. You need to assume the sale. Once they give you the yes to benefits, you just fly into everything and you keep going with 100% confidence. Do that in your voice. If for some reason they stop you, get into that clear direction. So the yes, the no, the clear direction, the 3 options there. We will get into overcoming objections soon. Don't think that we're not. But if you do have any questions about this today, I know a few people have reached out to learn more about the assumptive sales process. If you're one of those people who would like to, please let me know. We can set up a call and kind of go through more of it together. We can start working on things together. But do you have any questions, or if there's anything you want me to specifically cover in any Motivational Monday, obviously reach out at training@ahcpsales.com. That goes directly to me. It goes in the training box, and as I told you 100 times, once they go through, once you have the question, about 15 other people will. I do have a little bit of a script as far as it goes with the assumptive sales process. If you want that script, please email training@ahcpsales.com and let me know, and I will get that out to you. It's a script that we went around and we built that went through this assumptive sales process. It'll have some help for you for the introduction, the fact finding, the plan presentation, and it'll have some help for you at the close as well. So if you want that script, please reach out to training@ahcpsales.com. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of end on this note. So really the quote, proper planning and preparation prevents poor performance. It's actually a good thing. It's a phrase that one of my old friends' dads used to use on me all the time. Bad planning is going to have poor performance. So basically prepare, mentally go through, get these things down. You should be ready on every call. You shouldn't be taking calls in your underwear and, when you're just goofing around or if you're surfing Facebook. No, proper planning and preparation prevents your poor performance. So if you guys need anything, please go through. Please reach out to training@ahcpsales.com. If you did send me any questions here, I will respond back via email. But if not, I hope everybody there does have a really great Motivation Monday. And if you need anything, feel free to reach out.